Well, hello everyone and welcome to the Bowling University studio for the International Bowling Campus in Arlington, Texas. I'm Bart Berger and I'll be your host for this edition of the Bowling University Profit Break. Thank you all for joining us. Our mission here at the university is to enrich people's lives personally and professionally, and the Profit Break is an opportunity for sharing insights on how to grow revenue, reduce costs, enrich yourself, your team, and your business. Now, if you're joining us for the first time on the Profit Break, welcome. We're glad you're here. Give us 15 minutes and you're going to be well on your way to improving your profitability. Now, today we have with us in studio a great friend of the bowling industry, Mr. Danny Gruening. Danny is the VP of Marketing for Creative Work, where fun meets passion. Now, Danny's a frequent guest lecturer at the Bowling University Management School. Now, before joining Creative Works, Danny spent some time with Disney, where he learned some of the best customer service training in the world. Now, currently, he's helping operators all over the country with attraction mix, hiring, training, as well as operating best practices. Danny, welcome back. Great to see you again, my friend.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Now, we're going to do something a little different this time, right? Because Creative Works, you do some incredible products. I love it. But I know you're also about the person and developing them and getting into that training space. So today we're going to go a little different direction there. So I want you to tell me why you think the first 60 minutes of my day is the most important part of the day.
Sure. If you're like most people, the first thing that you do when you wake up is you check your phone. You look at it, you want to see what text do I have, what's the news, what are my emails, social media, all these things. Because we want to be informed and we want to feel productive first thing. But the problem is that no matter what we look at, our brain has to respond. And normally, the first thing you see in the morning is probably not the best news. So what happens is we get this cortisol dump and these stress hormones, and we immediately become stressed and anxious. And then that feeling, how we start the day, carries through the entire rest of the day. And we bring that kind of stress and anxiety into every single interaction that we have. And that is not really a great way for us to start our day for ourselves or for the people that we lead and that we want to impact.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that there's been some research done that, that while there's a lot of benefits of technology and the smartphone that's forever changed our lives, it is addictive. And I think we have to just acknowledge the fact that this is an addictive behavior that we have.
And it's not just the addictive behavior. A lot of the people who are watching this are business owners. They're business leaders. And one of the things that they want to do is check in what's happening in my business, what's happening in my local community. Like, they want to be aware and on top of things. But if we immediately jump into that and get our brains in reaction mode, it just sets this foundation that's not very sturdy throughout the day, so to speak.
Yeah. Okay, so if we're going to try to set this aside and we're going to try to break the cycle, and we're not going to start the day by checking our phone or our feed or any of that, what do you recommend? What's the alternative?
There are many alternatives, right? So filling that space, and I say the first 60 minutes, the first hour, because that's ideal. But when you first start this process and you want to avoid your phone, start with 15 minutes. That may seem easy for a lot of people, and it may surprise you how much more difficult it is than you think. But there's a lot of things that you can do during that time. Number one, you can read, you can work out, you can meditate, you can have your morning coffee routine. There's so many different ways to fill that space with something that, if you're going to have an input like reading a book, make it something that's business development, a business book, a leadership book, a personal development, something that's going to help kind of enrich you and get you into the right headspace. Because what I found for me, and I do this every single day, and I've gotten to the point now for myself where I do 60, sometimes 90 minutes in the morning without looking at my device. And that helps me show up better for myself. It helps me show up better for other people, and I have a better impact on those around me.
Yeah. Now, Danny, you and I have spent some time together. I practice some of the things that you're preaching there. And for me, I've had to physically choose to put my device in a different room. So I put it in, not in the bedroom, not in the kitchen where it's accessible. I put it in a little office area I have at home. And then to your point, I love to put that book, whatever it is, that morning read that I want to do, in an area that's more. So you have to make those physical changes to be able to have these habits stick.
100%. And I like that idea where you've already primed yourself because you've set that stuff out. You have your book next to your cup of coffee. You know that's what I'm going to be doing. If you want to work out and that's how you want to fill your space, set out your workout clothing the night before so that when you wake up, it's the first thing that you see. Set up your environment in a way that makes this as easy as possible. Yeah. And start with 15 minutes and then grow from there.
It really is setting those habits, forming those habits. Now, those are all great for the morning. But is there an opportunity to put some of this in your routine during the day if you hit that stress? Because we all have those days where you have the best intentions in the morning that you're going to start off, but it doesn't happen that way.
For sure, because we get into business, we get into real life. There are things that happen, there are things that we're being pulled in 100 different directions. We have to answer these questions, put out fires, we become stressed and anxious. And a lot of times we think, I'm going to take a break, let me pull out my phone and just kind of scroll through my feed real quick. But that's not actually a break for our brains because they're still on and having to absorb all this information. So you can take even 5-10 minutes, set down your device, go outside, and just breathe, close your eyes for a minute, do whatever it takes to reset yourself. Because even that 5 minutes, when you come back to whatever task you're working on, whatever meetings you need to do, whatever projects that you're working on, you're much fresher and able to tackle those than if you just try to go from your phone to meeting to this to that. It gets you in a much, much better headspace, and all it takes is 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying is a lot of this morning routine is really building those habits, and we mentioned the habit word. So why are habits important, and how can I get started building those? Is there some magic formula to developing those habits?
Our habits, there's a lot of formulas, right? But our habits create who we are. They create our lives. And most of us have habits on accident. Everything that we do is a habit for some reason or another. Checking your phone 30 times a day is a habit, whether or not you've intentionally built that. So, the book that I think about when it comes to habits, one is Atomic Habits. It's a fantastic book about how to build new ones. But what I wanted to talk about today is a book called The Compound Effect. And what that talks about is that small habits, small decisions over time have an enormous impact on our lives, in both the positive and the negative side. So, you eat a salad once, you don't get fit, right? You eat a burger once, you don't put on weight. It's not the way it works, but when you have things consistently, continually, that you do over and over and over again, it creates results, which is why the morning piece is important, because if you do this for 5 days and over 1 week, that you spend 30 minutes not looking at your phone, you may not see a huge difference yet. But when you do it again and again and again, it creates these compounding effects that over time have huge results.
Yeah, I read where John Maxwell said it takes 21 days to form a habit. I don't know whether 21 is the right number or not, but the repetition in doing that. Love the book Atomic Habits, highly recommend that. Remind us again the other one book you recommended, Compound.
The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. I read that a couple years ago at a point where I really needed that book, and it helped me really double down on my morning routine, on the habits, on the things that allow me to start my day in a way that makes me more productive, more happy, and have a better impact on those around me.
Well, that will be on my reading list. I love the Atomic Habits. I've read that one. That one will certainly make the list now for doing that. So, Danny, before we let you go today, one more to kind of wrap things up. This is probably the toughest one, okay? So we're business owners. Our audience is business owners. They're looking for results. Mm-hmm. What do we do if we've made the commitment, we're forming the habits, or we believe we're forming the habits, but we're not seeing the results?
So, we've all heard the metaphor and the idea of if you take a penny and you double it every day, after a month, you've got over $5 million, right? That's that compound effect. But here's the part that no one talks about. After 15 days, halfway through that 30, you only have $163. If you're not seeing the results yet, stick with it. Because the more that you stick with those habits and do the right activities, eventually you're going to hit a point where the results feel sudden, but they're not. It's all the decisions that you've made over the last months and years leading to that point to get you there. That's the great reminder that I like to give people, is that you may be only halfway through that month. Give it a little bit more time. Stick with it, because you may see those huge results coming just around the corner.
Good stuff, and thank you for sharing that, Danny. Well, hey, great to have you back at the campus today. Thanks for stopping in the studio, for letting us do that, and as always, great advice from you and the team.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, folks, as we wrap up another edition of the Bowling University Profit Break, remember that when you're focused on growing people will grow your business. We look forward to seeing you next time for another great episode. If you have any questions about today's show or like any additional information, you can reach us anytime at bpa.com. Also, you and your team can watch any of our episodes 24/7 by visiting bowlinguniversity.net. The Profit Break is now available when you want it, and we have new episodes premiering every month. Until then, I'm Bart Berger, and remember, do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. We'll see you next time.